If sharing really is caring, then boy do I have some problems I'd like to get off my chest, because in 2013, I was really jealous of other people's creative worlds, and so in August of 2013, I decided to start my own on the Xbox One. This was the very first build, the fox or dog, depending on your perspective, and over the years, I made literally hundreds of different videos in this same world, and because of that, I get so many comments talking about how iconic it was to see Black One-Legged Steve or any of the other things from this world in their childhoods, and I would like to pay that favor back by making this world publicly accessible. However, if I want to do that on PC, it's easy, but for consoles, it is not so much. There are 3 very big problems that I can see, and today I'd like to talk about what I'm going to do to fix them, as well as why they are big problems that you may face if you go through something similar with your own worlds. But the thing that seems more incomprehensible is why I decided to put 2 guns and then a couple of communist flags on top of this sheep over here. Like, legitimately, what possessed me to make the British communist dual-wielding gun sheep? I do not know. But I think as far as, like, simple politics, I think, like, nothing should be super overtly making a statement. And I don't know what Minecraft, you know, in the Minecraft lore, what they believe a sheep is meant to be, religion and or belief in gun control-wise, but I don't think I should be making that statement for them. Could you call that playing too safe? Yes, but I think that for the most part, these are the easiest fixes that I can make to my world. There probably shouldn't be random communist flags, as memey as I'm being with them. There probably shouldn't be guns around the world, and so by simply removing... I've got so many of them. By simply removing these, I think we can make the world at least apolitical in a way that I think most Minecraft worlds should already be. But still, that means we've easily solved our first problem. I hope. I'm pretty sure. I mean, where else could I have politics? And so with our first problem solved, now it comes time to deal with the second issue, which is a far more complicated one, because although we can simply remove a gun or cover up a bone, I don't think we need to do that, but, you know, yeah, let's see how it looks anyway. Although you can just cover up some issues, I think the technical side of this world is a much bigger problem, because ultimately, just uploading a console-sized superflat that has a few builds on it didn't quite sit right with me as far as quality standards, and so even though technically maybe we could have gotten away with this, a few years ago I started a project to unify all of my creative worlds together. Again, if I want to upload a creative world to the marketplace, rather than doing it multiple times or indeed having multiple downloads, I figured it'd be cool to have all of the downloads be in one place, and so what I did was a big project to not just take my world from the Xbox One. By the way, if you're curious, it's really easy to move worlds from Xbox 360 to Xbox One to Bedrock. It's still natively supported by the games, but I decided to take my world over to the Bedrock version, and then I decided to combine all of the worlds I'd ever done some major work in creative and put all of these worlds together. The chunk splicing was very imprecise and looked like this, but if you've been following the Let's Play world, or the creative world, I mean, I am playing in it, but you don't call it a Let's Play. But I decided to take all of these worlds and combine them together, be that places where I built comments, or my Soul Sand village, or any of these other big builds, and so as a result, we now have all of them strapped together, but there was one problem, and maybe it's obvious to you, maybe it's not. Super flat worlds are all at Y0 by default, all the way down here, whereas regular Minecraft terrain generates, well, quite a bit higher up, and so these big gaps are great for preserving the individual chunks, but a change we decided to make when porting it over was, why don't we make this just vibe a bit better and a little less ugly and janky? And so here is what it looks like after a flattening, and honestly, at first, it felt slightly wrong. It felt like we were doing the Xbox One to Bedrock thing of having like some slight terrain smoothing, but honestly, I really liked the end result, and I specifically decided to keep it janky between my old Xbox One and old PlayStation 4 creative world. Again, this is another super OG deep cut, but when the PlayStation 4 version of Minecraft first came out, I decided to make a bunch of videos specifically about it, even though it was arguably quite similar to the other versions, and so, interestingly, that means that I have a second super flat world, and if you've never seen where it is, I thought it was over here, but apparently I don't know my own way around the world. It's over there instead. Oh, this is weird, huh? But yeah, there is my Sky Village, and here are some big grandiose projects that I made for videos about things that you should never build in survival, although every day I get more tempted. And indeed, looking over here, you can see my PlayStation 4 creative world. And so, as a result, just by doing this, I think we fixed the technical issues of making a world that is much more exciting, because instead of just being what is effectively my world where I did a bunch of sketching in, a bunch of just weird ideas I wanted to test in creative, some of those were very absurd, like using Minecraft's ugliest blocks, but trying to make something that was somewhat worth looking at. I like this castle personally, but maybe you disagree. Although, a lot of the weird ideas in this were kind of just like, here are some sketches. This is now the collection of all of the weird ideas I've had across all of the worlds, from long pandas to reconstructed villages. And so by itself, I could have probably just called this a day. But still, I felt like, okay, if this is going to be on the console marketplace, it does have to therefore have a price tag. And so just justify it, I felt like it wouldn't be just enough to be like, here are my worlds. Technically, we combine them together, even though it took a lot of, chunk movement around, etc. I still felt like, okay, there's more to be done with this. And so the next step was logically to make the world actually fit together better. And so I spoke to my good friend Agent Mindstorm. He is the person behind console aspects, as well as the Timeless Adventures and many other things you might know, like the preview hider. But I decided to speak to him and see, like, is there a way we can, like, up the quality on this and make it something that is more easily navigatable? To me, it's really obvious how to get from my PlayStation 4 dog, or indeed my my very early remake of the Cove, or the Shrunk. This is my little shrunk room, by the way. I love this place a lot, but I figure, like, for me, it's really easy to work out how to get around these places. Oh, look, it's when I had my silver play button, I decided to put it on the wall. I've got a gold play button now. I could go in and change that. Yeah, look at me, 900,000 more subscribers. Anyway, with that said, I felt like, working out how we improve the quality was something that was important to me. And so one of his big obvious ideas, again, as a console fan, was like, why not have a music disc hunt? And I was like, yes, of course. And so I did set to hiding the discs. I've only got these ones left to hide right now. But then his next idea was kind of genius, and it was the idea of having teleporters. So he made this little model of a gravel toy cat, in this case with an axe, and he gave it the UI, which effectively functions like my teleporters, but instead of being exposed command blocks in Black One-Legged Steve's head, which still do exist for me to get around, this is going to be something to allow the casual player to explore the world if they don't necessarily know the 12 years of lore behind all of these creative worlds. This is a massive improvement, but then I had an idea as to, like, okay, when one of my favorite things about, like, games I really love is going into the developer commentary settings. I loved this in Portal. There were these little blobs that you could hover over.
We noticed early playtesters grasped the concept much more quickly when they caught a glimpse of themselves through a portal. So we deliberately positioned this first portal to ensure that players will invariably see themselves.
I thought this was such a cool way to, like, interactively explore while still getting commentary, and so we made this same statue be able to deliver that commentary, and here's what it looks like in Minecraft. I got recommended a post where someone had taken apart an entire NPC village just to see how many of each component there was, and I thought this was beautiful, but missing the next logical step, because once you had all of these resources, what were you going to do with them? Isn't that super cool? And so the plan is to now do commentary for every single main region of the world that you might look at and have some questions about. At the same time, I did get some questions from Agent Mindstorm about whether it would be appropriate to ship a world that had what looks to be a cross between Steve, a missile, and an arrow, I guess is the only charitable way to describe this. And I said, yeah, I feel like it might make sense to take the back end off this thing. And so, why is there fire on the inside? And so, after making these changes, and indeed after recording the audio commentary, I feel like we'll go from having a world that is just me uploading something to the internet to having something that will actually be really cool to explore and where you can learn a lot of the world's lore. But again, I feel like that is fun, but that only satisfies our second problem. What about the legal issues? Now, I know what you're thinking, Toycat, there's no legal issues in a Minecraft world, and weirdly, I think this is the stance that most people seem to take. But if you look at most of the weird Skibbity Toilets or Incredibles or even Stranger Things collabs, these usually have the blessing of the brand owners. Adidas and Lacoste and more have all commissioned Minecraft add-ons, but they did so with their express permission. Now here's an interesting debate. If I put out a world for download and I intend to make profit from it, but that world has, say, I think the most famous example is Spyro, am I making money from Spyro's likeness? Well, yes, right? And so can Spyro the Dragon, therefore Activision, therefore Xbox, therefore Microsoft, sue me for that? Well, I'd be making money from a Microsoft property within a Microsoft game, but it still feels a bit risky. Then when we go to things like my giant Nintendo Switch, or indeed my Undertale characters, or even worse, going straight to Nintendo with my Majora's Mask, I think that we have some real legal issues on our hands. I don't know that it is okay to ship with Majora's Mask in there, or indeed even to a lesser extent this, because this is very much a recognizable symbol from a Nintendo game. In the same way you wouldn't dream of having a Halo game that has, Link as a character. Can I have one of the major symbols of that game in this world? Now, if I were a copyright lawyer and if I believed in myself, so how did I miss this? How did I? I might, it's fine. It's just a chimney that's blowing out steam. But the interesting thing about this is the question becomes, what can we do about that? So I'm going to look around my world and assign things a legal riskiness level, I would say. I think there is effectively no risk at all to me having a Wii U gamepad, it does exist over here, or me having a PlayStation 4 controller or an Xbox, because these are physical products, and therefore building one inside of Minecraft is just like having a painting of one. Can you sell a painting of a PlayStation controller? I'm going to say probably. Not legal advice, just my opinion. Then we go up to the medium level risk, which is where I would say these Undertale characters fit into. Technically speaking, they are the IP of Toby Fox, but that is someone who loves fan art. That is someone who loves to see representation in other games, and who surely doesn't see this creative map as being a competitor to their product. Indeed, that is also how I imagine some other things are felt. But I would say the high-risk category definitely has to be this Nintendo thing, and of course, the big old Spyro the Dragon. And so I've got two options. One could be to entirely demolish them. This is probably the safer option. I could also entirely change it such that it's not recognizable. Although I've got to say, it is so far from recognizable that I don't think we'll have any issues. But I think this is an easy thing to do with a dragon, which, by the way, I've been saying Spyro, but obviously I mean for hypothetical reasons. This is my own fictional dragon that I made up from thin air. As you can see, he looks nothing like any dragons that really exist. It does look a bit like a burn victim. Honestly, it's one of those builds that's in the world that probably doesn't even make sense to be, so this is a really easy case of we can reskin it, we can change it, we can turn it into something where it's genuinely not related property at all, because I don't, to me this doesn't even look like the main thing, but the much harder case is gonna have to be this mask. This is, make no mistake about it, directly taken from the again. I'm gonna freely admit right here. I looked at an image of Majora's Mask. I was playing it on the 3DS, or a bunch of my friends were, and I really wanted to. I never actually finished it, but I loved Majora's Mask as an idea. I'd heard such good things about it, and so I decided to build it in Minecraft. And here's where I got up to. It was such an exhausting project to build that I honestly never liked it and never finished it. And so weirdly, this is an incomplete build in an entirely irrelevant area of the world. Doesn't it make sense just to remove it? My head says, of course, just get rid of it. But my heart says, why should you ever remove something? You know, art should never suffer for silly legal reasons. And so what am I going to do about it? Well, I'd like to leave it nice and dramatic, but I think I just will destroy it. I think it's going to hurt me to do, but let's just do it. There should be no mask here. Let's make something bigger, better, and at least less directly copyright infringing in the space. Let's remove this mask and let's build something beautiful in its place. So that is now, I think, the third of our big issues solved, meaning that all I have to do at this point is record some commentary. Again, I think, like the Recycled Village is one that I would love to talk about, and you've seen my audio about it, but I'd love to talk about so many parts of this world, and so now the entire rest of it is not about technical, or indeed about legal or political issues. I mean, are there political issues with having a big gold tower that is next to a graph that implies that it's going up very highly? I don't actually know, but what I do know is the fact that we've solved our 3 big issues, and so now all I have to do, because I think we've met all of the criteria to put it out there, I think I still want to solve a few quality issues, and that would be to make it something that I'm prouder to have out in the world. I do think that if you are going to charge for something, then it's better, rather than just saying, well, I have to charge, so I want some money from you, and even though not all of that money is going to me, I still think it is worth asking, how exactly can we make a product that people are happy, that people would want to pay for, or that people feel like they're getting their value for? And so that is the challenge that I'm going to be dealing with over the next couple months as we get this finally prepped and ready to release. As to whether we were successful in this video, I guess you'll find out in the next couple of months if I have an announcement about this world. And if you don't hear an announcement, then clearly I missed some very big legal, political, or technical problem. Anyway, with that said, if you are curious, I put a lot of work into other minor, equality improvements, such as I built this entire minecart rail that went around the world. However, once I built it, and again, it took a really long time to build this, and I had to snake it up there because it was before I leveled the terrain. Once I built the minecart rail, it took something like 8 minutes to do a lap, and it was such a disastrously slow way to see the world that I just decided to scrap it. And so instead, you view the world the way that worlds were meant to be seen, with your hands in the air. Although, half as slow as the Xbox One edition. With that said, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I'm glad that all those years ago I decided to start building a fox or a dog. I didn't know what it was then, and I don't know what it is now. It was a 53-second video, but I'm glad I decided to make this for that video and then make everything around it, because it's so cool to have so many years of inspiration, sketching, and ultimately idea planning all in the same place. Sometimes I make a silly idea, sometimes I make a beautiful silly idea, but I love having it all available right here, and hopefully you've enjoyed the videos over the years, and this is now another one, which I guess effectively was like a giant ad for a product that may or may not exist. Boom, beautiful advertising. Come and download my Rhino from 2017, except you can't yet, and maybe never will be able to. Yeah, that's the sort of advertising that that would make me proud. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Yeah, look at this. The update area of this world, just beautiful. Goes all the way up to I mean, just in 10 years. I hope to one day show my grandkids my ocelot statue that is fighting off against Grimace. That's the dream, isn't it? Okay, thanks. Goodbye. Wait. Can I? Is that Grimace? You know, that sounds like Future Me's problem. Okay, thank you. Goodbye.